Today, let's take a look at a locomotive I've wanted an accessible, excellent running model of since childhood, the New York Central J3 Hudson. Did Bachmann deliver on this promise? Let's find out. The new long boxes and packaging design keep the model very safe. Also inside are the usual warranty and parts diagram ephemera. Also included in a parts bag, the closed version of the pilot doors. The model looks stunning coming out of the box and is easy to handle thanks to its streamlined form. While I break the locomotive in, let's learn about its history. In 1926, Paul W. Kiefer became the Central's Chief Mechanical Officer of Motive Power and Rolling Stock. The new K6 Pacifics, while 50% more powerful than the stalwart K3s, were still insufficient to pull trains like the Limited due to trailing trucks' uneven axle loading at speed. So he tested out a 2-axle Delta trailing truck from a Boston and Albany, Berkshire, under Pacific 3284, and in doing so he kit-bashed the first experimental Hudson. He then proceeded to do a clean sheet design to fit the Central's notoriously tight loading gauge, fitted as much power as he possibly could with steaming capacity to spare. This produced the J1 of 1927. 10 years of improvements later, the first J3 debuted in September of 1937. Improvements included roller bearings throughout, a welded boiler, one-piece cast steel frame, and pilot. Industrial designer Henry Dreyfuss was tapped again following his success streamlining the Pacifics and Hudsons for the Commodore Vanderbilt of 1934. Dreyfuss evolved the streamlined upside-down bathtub look of the predecessors into perhaps the most iconic Art Deco/streamlined modern locomotive design of all time. Its Roman helmet look and gorgeous skyline casing was matched by its equally sleek tender. The final order of 10 J3s received the gorgeous skull and steel disc drivers, which complete the futuristic look. The locomotives were able to pull the Limited at over 90 miles an hour, logging an incredible 200,000 miles between major outshoppings, basically unheard of at the time. Supplanted by diesels in the mid-1950s, Perelman had all of them scrapped. Only a tender survives at Steamtown today. If you want to nerd out about the Hudson further, I've written a companion post up on Patreon that links with original sources for you to enjoy reading. Model features, handling, running, and performance. The model retains the exceptionally good drivetrain of the unshrouded J3 model that I also reviewed, and you can see that here. This centered motor puts the weight over the main drivers, which makes for a very powerful model. This translates into putting tracked effort exactly where you need it, compared to other manufacturers' models which cantilever the heavy motor out over the firebox, producing a tail-heavy model prone to derailments at speed. These Hudsons don't come with traction tires because they don't need them. The cast metal boilers further add to the tractive effort too, the Dreyfuss model being a few ounces heavier than the original J3. The 1938 20th Century Limited was a 13-car consist, run daily in up to 7 separate sections. This consist was increased to 17 cars during World War II. The model easily handles this on straight and level track. Under testing, I was able to pull an incredible 22-car train of Rapido and Walters cars on the mostly level layout. This matches the real-life dynamometer testing done by the Central, a nice nod for a model to do the same. All models should be broken in on a rolling road or loop of track for about 30 minutes in either direction before you put them in revenue service. I did that here, and it smoothed out the slow-speed performance, desirable for realistic station arrivals and departures. The model also flies at top speed exactly as you'd hope it to, capturing the excitement and power of speed that helped the real locomotives become iconic. The model features solid bearing rods, which were indeed used on the box-spoke drivered versions of the streamlined J3s. However, the skull and disc drivered Hudsons were equipped with lightweight roller bearing side rods. This is something I think Bachmann should offer in a second release of this model in the future, since it would not be too expensive to do the tooling for that. The model is a surprisingly fine cast metal piece with many pieces of the feedwater heater injector piping as separate pieces. The only clunky plumbing is the water injector, which comes from the feedwater heater in a thick casting. Other molded-on details, such as safety valves and whistles, are countersunk into the streamlined skyline casing, enough to be unnoticeable with a suitable black wash. I particularly liked the rear of the tender with the manway and ladder. The rear backup light is also functional too, a nice touch. The nose is a separate part that looks excellent, as does the pilot. Sharp tampo printing for the central oval on the nose looks nice. The builder's plate is a bit smushed, but legible. The numbering and lettering on the cab and tender look exceptionally nice, with ultra-difficult-to-pull-off pinstriping around each letter form. I'm particularly pleased they listened to feedback from my J3 review and added a metal drawbar pin to the tender, replacing the entirely plastic example on the unshrouded model, which broke on mine just a couple months into owning it. Please do this with the rest of the Bachmann line. The tender itself has the exact same plug as the regular J3, so if you wanted, you could swap tenders between the two models, something I'm sure happened at least once in their service lives. Inside the tender is the exquisite TCS WOW sound decoder with speakers that even at full volume don't clip like the earlier J3s did. The beautiful recording of the J3's whistle is really outstanding. TCS continues leading the pack with chuff synchronization right out of the box. Stack talk is particularly excellent, barking under load and silently drifting while braking. It easily beats the BLI Paragon sound system in performance and ease of use. I think if TCS allowed you to download new whistles into the decoders, they'd be the first choice for any Steam modeler. As it stands, the decoder produced with the J3 in mind fits the model like a finely tailored suit, as sharp as Dreyfuss's exterior design. Also on board is a capacitor, which keeps the model alive and strong through dirty track. As you might have seen, the LED in the model flickers only for the camera. The model comes with plastic EasyMate couplers easily replaced with KD148s using standard coupler boxes. I went the extra mile and replaced the pilot coupler with a closed pilot door included in the parts bag with the model. This cleans up the model considerably and really looks splendid. I asked my Patreon patrons what they'd most like to know about in a model locomotive review, and I got 21 great questions. Here's a handful of the most interesting.
Is it an accurate depiction of its prototype? I would say yes, absolutely. A hearty yes at first glance. If I went down to rivet counter level detail, I can endlessly nitpick any model because of the way that people interpret plans, photographs, data, and even crawling over real locomotives with laser scanners. All of that produces a point of view. And so this is Bachmann's point of view of what a Dreyfuss Hudson should look like. How easy is it to fix any shortcomings? Well, okay, so if you wanted to continue to super detail this locomotive, you could. Precision Scale makes an entire backhead detail kit for specifically the J3 Hudson. So if you wanted to pop the shell off and super detail the backhead, add a crew, do that sort of thing, you're more than welcome to, and I think it will look really cool. I think that this model is dimensionally correct enough that it would respect your time to super detail it if you wanted to go deeper. It's a fully shrouded, streamlined steam locomotive. You really can't see much of the backhead because the tender is so fully faired. So it's up to you. If it's something you want to do to impress others or even challenge yourself, go for it, but I think it's just fine as is. If I was to improve any detail around it, maybe I would have a separate brass whistle on the top, but that's basically it.
Patron questions about the model continue in this exclusive video for paid members. Check out the link in the description. Let's explore the long line of previous models in brass and plastic, and where the Bachmann model ranks in that pantheon. The Hudson was made famous in the world of modeling by Lionel in O-scale and briefly in HO. However, it was just the first in a very long line of HO models at the Hudsons. Brass imports began arriving from then-occupied Japan in the late 1940s, and over the years, multiple brass offerings from Japan and later Korea defined the high-end models. The current Zenith is Bourim's J3, produced for Precision Scale in the 2000s and selling for between $1,700 to $2,800. Key Imports also imported a very handsome example in the 1980s, as did LMB. Any brass older than the late 1980s requires a lot of precise tuning to get to run well, so we'll skip those for now. The main disadvantage of even the PSC model is that they're designed to be looked at, and unsurprisingly, none of them have DCC or sound equipped right out of the box. So even if you spend $2,800 on the PSC example, you'll need to spend hundreds more having a skilled custom builder install sound inside it. Best just to buy the Bachmann or the BLI examples. Of course, older modelers remember that Rossi debuted all three versions of the J3 beginning in the early 1970s under the AHM Gray Label brand. Their awful 3-pole blender motor and pie cutter flanges make them great paperweights or desk displays today. Later in the 1990s, Rossi re-released them with finer RP25 flanges and can motors in their later quote-unquote red box era. Some even got the incorrect Union Pacific versions of the Centipede tenders some received late in life. However, these examples run very nicely and could be a nice budget J3 for younger modelers just starting out. Later on, BLI and MTH debuted their models, featuring clunky proprietary sound systems. The models themselves are gorgeous, though, and even the older ones are still highly sought after today. They command used prices higher than the new Bachmann model sells for major retailers. The latest BLI Brass Hybrid J3 is perhaps the finest new model out today of the J3. The detail is exceptional, and so is the price, often over $700 new. They also run very well and look great doing it. However, they have a few drawbacks. The models come with disposable traction tires which have a shelf life before they disintegrate. Also, in order to compensate for the smoke unit in the nose, the locomotive is unbalanced and tail-heavy. If only BLI designed steam locomotives powerful and balanced enough to run without traction tires. Despite these drawbacks, I would suggest this J3 if you're a die-hard green hat, specifically if you're going to model the New York Central between 1938 and the early 1950s. However, for most people, the BLI model is probably overkill. One area the Bachmann model outshines both BLI and MTH is not needing traction tires. BLI's traction tires often warp or break after a year or so of operation, and then needing to source the non-traction tire replacement drivers, which they might not have in stock, to then do a complex driver swap is a nightmare. Ask me how I know. The Bachmann model buys peace of mind and ease of use by eliminating the ticking time bomb that disposable traction tires add to an expensive model. Thus, the Bachmann model hits a sweet spot I think most modelers will appreciate. At $400 from most retailers new, it'll satisfy the desire to own one of the most iconic locomotives of all time. This J3 will also look, run, and sound exceptional doing it too. There's even room for further super detailing if you desire to do it. Like the unshrouded J3 produced earlier, it has good bones. Bachmann's new motor drive creates a new standard for model steam locomotive engineering, and I look forward to see many new models using this approach in the future. But does it bring joy? I've wanted a great running J3 Hudson since I was a kid. One of my favorite tapes growing up was New York Central's Running the Railroad, which prominently featured this locomotive. It ignites my imagination in a way few other locomotives do. It definitely brings considerable joy to have a model that looks the part but can also haul the entire 20th Century Limited at track speed, just like the real counterpart. The careful balance between durability and fine detail hits the mark with this engine, and it's the perfect stress-free club runner. It offers the best value, equipped with the best quality sound, while also being the best runner. Go out and find one for a great price. I think you'll enjoy it. This has been Interurban Era. Thank you so much for watching. If you're a manufacturer and you're interested in having your models reviewed by me, reach out via interurbanera.com. If you'd like to see a bunch of Patreon exclusive and behind-the-scenes things, go to patreon.com/interurbanera. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.